Hey, I'm Kyle Lamont, your host of ConcertCast, a travel podcast exploring concert culture. And in my previous episode about Austin, Texas, which is bonus episode number 5 for those of you following along at home, I spend time with Scott Newton. He's the resident concert photographer at Austin City Limits, which is the longest running music series in American TV history. And what started out as a conversation full of stories turned into part pep talk, part philosophical lesson on creativity. In this minicast, we expand on his beliefs and principles using a music video I directed many, many years ago as a way to analyze the maker process. And I hope for anyone listening, especially for artists, photographers, entrepreneurs, that Scott's words speak to you. Like, really speak to you like they eventually did for me. I dreamt about making love in a lighthouse. And the next day, while driving around down East Maine, listening to the song Sea of the Edge by Austin-based band The Bright Light Social Hour, a concept for a music video started to take shape. I should have prefaced this by saying that I've been making media for well over a decade. Video, photography, and podcasts are my focus, and I am just so passionate about producing because of the possibilities and the endless ways to collaborate. And my imagination can't help but create stories, especially when I listen to music while driving. Breath and sails as we glide past the sea of the So within a few months, I was directing a romantic short film using the song as a backing track. And the story was about two fiercely independent lovers who rendezvous at a lighthouse in Maine. The film, which I titled Love at Last Light, asks, are you better with someone or without? And if you are, then love, not fear, should light the way. Let's just say the video was very low budget, but what we lost in high-end equipment and having multiple crew members, we made up for in locations and passion and just plain fun. We filmed during autumn in Maine, and the majority of the story took place at an actual lighthouse in Cutler called Little River. So my crew were my friends who work on a lobster boat in Cutler Harbor full-time. They brought me and my DP out to a remote wharf in fog as dense as pea soup so that we could capture an epic drone scene of our leading female character traveling out to the lighthouse on a skiff. They made us warm meals and provided bedding for an overnight stay at the lighthouse, and my two other friends were cast as the independent lovers. When the sex scene arrived, it was priority to make sure to create space that was respectful and kind, and the set, well, if you want to call it that, was simply one of the bedrooms in the lighthouse keeper's quarters. The only things in frame were lace curtains, an antique bed made of maple wood with a handmade quilt, and a dresser with candles on top. After the nerves dissipated, a different type of emotion took over. Directing my friends to rhythmically move their bodies and to emulate passionate sex while also working with the DP to get certain camera angles was intimate to say the least. But in the radiance of the revolving beacon of light, we all entered a creative channel, and I'd like to think it was art. The filmmaking experience was absolutely incredible and absolutely so much fun, and I still am, to this day, so appreciative to my friends who gave up their time to support my wild idea. But because it was the first time I ever directed a music video, the voyage into my vision was mired in comparison to other people's work and self-doubt. After we wrapped, I was so scared that this video would suck that instead of editing, I made up excuses and unnecessary problems. I stalled on the work necessary to complete the project. Yet my ambition, like a lighthouse, saw the vision through. And an editor and I bumbled through hours and hours of footage. And when the film was finally complete, I sent it to the lead singer of the band, Curtis Rausch. He responded by saying that we captured the vibe and the muted, nostalgic melancholy of the song. And he had their record label grant me rights to share the film on YouTube. With that response, I felt a burst of pride and confidence, so I submitted it to the Austin Music Video Film Festival. When I wasn't accepted, my confidence went up in smoke. I was a failure. My doubts were justified. I took it really personally. Someone said you either get bitter or you get better. So I stopped navel gazing and I booked a flight to Austin to attend the festival and see a few concerts.
Austin is one of those wonderful places in the country where you've got this creative energy.
Meet Scott Newton. He's the concert photographer for Austin City Limits, known as ACL, which is a live music TV show that has been airing for over 40 years. I met Scott after I toured the Moody Theater, the venue where ACL is taped, and also where he has an installation of his performance portraits hung up gallery style.
When I'm shooting as a photographer, I'm trying to define the divine, because I feel that they're in the thrall of something that's not them, that's bigger than them. And so my point when I'm shooting is to try to reveal that. You know, a musician, when they're in the thralls of the muse, they're not really conscious of what they're doing. It's just flowing through them. And they'll tell you that. Photographer, too. If I'm really in the flow of the thing, my ego's not involved. I mean, I'm faintly aware that it's me doing these things, but not really. I've just dissolved into consciousness along with the rest of them. All absorbed in the music, all absorbed in the sights of what's around me, especially if I'm busy creating at the same time. So the muse is running through me too. You feel the warmth of the music, and there is this energy circuit right in the middle. It's totally invisible, but everybody can see. When existence conveys to you the underlying invisible essence of the thing, and you push the button at that moment so you can show everybody else, that's what photography is.
What are your thoughts on music videos?
Well, I think music video is just another form of art. For me, my definition of art is consciousness made tangible in some cohesive forms. So to me, it's a new art form. And most art forms, when they first come out, are their most living. It's in its most nascent beginning form where it has its most vitality. And so until it becomes cheesy, which it already has in a lot of places, but if you can stay just with the original vital energy, you got a vital art form, vital original art form. That sky's the limit.
What do you consider cheese?
A materialistic, superficial, cheap thrills, sensational. It usually has some kind of sexual aspect that's not particularly. I mean, you can do sex and have it be deep, or you can do sex and have it be the opposite of deep. I'll just leave it there. So usually sensationalistic kind of stuff, cheesy stuff. It'll go for the cheap thrills every time.
I am so embarrassed because I think my video might be cheesy.
That's for you to judge.
No, I can tell by your explanation, my video is cheesy.
Well, if it's cheesy, there's people that like cheese, but you know, that's for you to call.
I think it's almost like borderline one of those like romance novels.
Yeah. Well, a lot of those are cheesy.
A little bit of that,
Yeah.
but with a full-fledged genuineness. While talking with Scott, I was trying to stay present. I really was. But I was incredibly down on myself. After spending 4 days of watching back-to-back mind-blowingly cool music videos made by wickedly talented filmmakers, I felt dejected, demoralized, numb, and closed off. So, to be honest, a lot of his words were going in one ear and right out the other. Being in this city has made me exceptionally aware of how creative everyone is.
It's a challenging place to be. A lot of smart people here. A lot of people are here because there's other smart people here. If you're young and you want to accomplish something or you want to have fun, this is one of the few places you can go and be guaranteed of that. All you got to do is bring your game. That's all.
But yeah, what's your advice to like creatives to stay focused?
Well, what are you going to do about being challenged? You're going to go, oh, it's too hard, and go sit down? No, you're not. You only got one life. Don't compare yourself. And don't ever focus on lack. Don't ever focus on what you're lacking. Focus on what you can accomplish. The lack thing, that's a dead end. It's a blind alley. I can't do this because other people are better. Yeah, yeah. Fuck that. You're you're your own person. You're a unique person. I mean, this is all stuff that you've heard from the time you were born. But the fact is, it's true. Just have faith in yourself.
He goes on to describe how creativity is a feedback loop, and at times it can be a connection with the divine.
The future is a distillation of what we're doing now. If you want to change your future, change your vibration in the now. Become positive as much as you can. Because you put that out, you draw it back. The feelings that you're feeling, the depression you're feeling, will often be mirrored in what's going on, what you're drawing to yourself. And there's a unity to that our culture doesn't teach us either. So anyway, you can draw to yourself through your stance, through your understandings, what happens to you. And you get in a rhythm, you get in a pattern where you feel the return. It's not an instant karma, but it's close. You're laying down there, you're doing the right stuff, and you start getting rewarded on the edges. It's never direct. It's almost always on the edges. So you just got to keep working at it. That's, in general, how I would answer your cry for, what the fuck? It's too hard. Too many creative people. I'm not good enough. Yeah, you are. You're good enough.
And to Scott, the creative process is like the dialectic theory of history.
A thesis, the thing that exists, is opposed by an antithesis, out of which a synthesis is formed, which becomes the new thesis. It's a process that's always occurring. Thesis, antithesis, synthesis. Thesis, and, So when you can see that part of the process, then it helps you figure out where you're at in the process. And all this is value. What explicitly has value in every situation, that's for you to discern, you to figure out. But the process works. There's things that you see and you apprehend when you got a camera in your hand, which is a box with a lens, and you're trying to tell truths with that simple tool. And there's all kinds that you can tell. So with you, as you're doing your videos, hey, must be present to win. So even if this one, I haven't seen it, even if this one you think is cheesy, so what? You got something to base off. But you don't know until you get in there and you get your hands on it. As soon as you put your hands on it, you encounter the problems and that you've got to solve. And that's where the skill is.
I suppose when I made the film, I was following an idea and my imagination guided me through the process, and I didn't question it. At times, when I wasn't worrying about the logistics, I felt part of something outside my comprehension, inside a creative flow, a channel where there was no future or film festivals or failure. I was just happy to be making.
Popular is not what you're going for right now. You're trying to get good at the art form, trying to figure out where the problems are, trying to figure out if you have anything to say. These are all things you got to answer. And you answer them project after project after project after project until you die, until you're dead, until you're done. The years are lived. You've gone around the sun. You've gone around the sun so many times. You only get so many. So, do your best and then let it go. Don't have any remorse ever for anything that's in the past. The future is what you're doing now. Just stay focused on now. Stay good at now. And the future will unfold the way it's supposed to if you're doing the present well. Just do the present well. Just keep doing the present well.
When I reflect on why I made the music video, it was for two reasons, I think. One, I'd never been in love or had felt heartbreak. And two, I really wanted to.
This is your self-portrait. It's the thing you chose to see, the thing you chose to show. So in that sense, every picture you take is a self-portrait. Plus, you influence everything that you shoot, be it you're so close to your proximity that you're altering what the subject is aware of you. You could be altering it that way, or they're not aware of you at all. And just by their very obliviousness is a sort of a self-portrait as well. What's the quality of this thing that makes it individual, that makes it unique, that makes it different? And then you try to play that up, try to convey that thing.
I'm glad I have this recorded because I'm going to push play when I need a little pep talk.
Okay, good. I hope so. Hope you do. You could call me too if you want. I'll give you a pep talk on the phone.
I would like that. I mean, this is a podcast in itself. It's just pep talks with Scott.
Well, I could do that. I'm happy to share the things that I've uncovered. But you try to embody these things. They're not just inspirational phrases, but, become your MO, the reason you do stuff.
All right. True confession. This interview was recorded 4 years ago, and I'm just now sitting down to write and produce this. I guess I've been stuck in the same fearful patterns is not wanting to edit the music video. I had this interview and I didn't want to produce it because I was scared it would suck. And clearly I wasn't really hearing Scott talk to me. But not too long ago, I made a conscious decision to change that and start looking at the way I write and produce as a craft, as a daily practice. So when I opened up Scott's interview to produce this episode, I was gobsmacked. I pushed play on our conversation, and his totally present advice was just waiting for this version of myself to hear it.
Spirit can see into the future. So there's a part of you, it's not your conscious part, but it's the intuitive part. And it sees, it apprehends what the future can be. It will guide you. It will deflect you along the proper course. So that when you lived a while and you look back, how the hell did that happen? It was because your spirit was coaxing you to the place you needed to be to have the lessons that you need unfold for you. The person that you are is what you'll draw to yourself. It's as simple as that.
Humility is the foundation of growth. And in the years since I've made that music video, I've made a lot more media. Commercials, films, podcasts, photographs. I've been to a handful of film festivals and have even won some awards. And when I watched the music video back today, especially in light of Scott's recent words, I see myself, inward and outward. And I do still cringe at the cheesy parts of the video, but I see growth and acknowledge that that experience was just a little piece of what Scott says, the wholeness of things.
Our culture teaches us to break things up so we can apprehend them, but there's a wholeness that if we can learn to see the largeness, the holistic aspect, that's a whole other form of wisdom that our culture doesn't particularly teach, although human experience teaches us that that's where you're going, that's where you want to go. You want to understand the wholeness of things. What good are all the details if you can't put them together? So anyway, I'm just trying to talk about what music helps us do. It helps us see the wholeness of things.
I hope that Scott's principles and beliefs can be the encouraging reminder you need to hold on to the joy and connection that making something can bring. And that just by simply showing up and doing the work in the present, you progress and refine your skills for the future.
Sounds like nebulous bullshit, but it really isn't. It works. You get the patterns going, and it starts rewarding you on the edges. Now, is there some other mind, some other God thing making that happen? I don't know. I don't have a clue. All I know is it seems to work. Must be present to win. You got to keep hacking at it.
This has been a Good to Go Studios production, written and produced by yours truly, me, Kyle Lamont. Head to concertcast.live to watch the music video and also to listen to more podcast episodes about concert culture. My editor and engineer is Pete McGill. Special thanks to Scott Newton, Heidi Stanton-Drew, The Bright Light Social Hour, my cast and crew of Love at Last Light, French Kiss Records, and thank you for listening.